get up and I say, okay, starting tomorrow, I'm gonna run 2 miles every day, it's not gonna happen. We set easy wins, and not easy like there's nothing involved in them, but easy in that it's actually attainable. Starting a new diet, we're starting a new exercise routine. We need to start small. Hi, welcome back to another Kilby Life video. I am Elizabeth and I wanted to sit and chat with you today about something that literally had me awake at 3:30 in the morning and I could not go back to sleep. But before I get to that, I want to say thank you to Element for sponsoring this video. Element is a tasty electrolyte drink with all of the good stuff that you want and none of the junk. Right now they have this chocolate medley mix out that is my favorite in the winter time. It has a mint chocolate, chai chocolate, and raspberry chocolate that tastes like a warm cup of hot chocolate with none of the sugar and none of the junk. But each little packet has 1,000 milligrams of sodium, 200 milligrams of potassium, and 60 milligrams of magnesium. And if you use our link to order them, they will send you one of these, which is a sample pack of 8 of their flavors. So you can try out a bunch of flavors without committing to them to find out what you like best. In the summer, I like the watermelon and the raspberry. And again, in the winter, I like these ones to drink hot. And they are delicious. So if you go to drinkelement.com/Kilby to place any order, they will send you one of those sample packs for free. Again, it's drinkelement.com, drinklmnt.com/Kilby. I woke up at about 3:30 the other day thinking about accountability, thinking about mentoring, thinking about how we get started on these journeys that we're on and how to start well. And I know we've talked about that a lot, but I think it's so important to either start well or continue well and set yourself up for success. One of the things that I have done in my job is mentoring and coaching at-risk and vulnerable young women. So these are women that are coming out of a variety of different situations, but a lot of times just not a lot of hope, not a lot of confidence in their future. And so we try to start by meeting basic needs. We make sure we have food, we have shelter, we have security, and once that is set up, we say, okay, now it's time to dream. What do you want to do with your life? Where do you want to end up? What are the big things that you want to go conquer? What do you want to do? And we don't talk about what's possible or probable, but what is the big dream? And then we start working backwards from there and breaking it down into smaller chunks. So for some of these women, it was, I want to go get a college degree. Some of them, it was getting health under control. For some of them, it was just learning how to do different things in their own life. Some of them, it was marriage. And so we would say, okay, so for somebody that wants to go to college, that is a great dream. You want to get a degree? Awesome. What needs to happen before that? Well, you need to get accepted into college. Okay, what needs to happen before that? Well, you're going to need a GED. What do we need to do to get that? Well, we're probably going to have to do some studying or sign up for a class. And then as we kind of start breaking it down, we get back to kind of our first big step. We say, okay, what needs to happen tomorrow? Like what is the tiny first step piece that needs to happen tomorrow? And for some of them, it was you need to get out of bed on time. You need to establish good routines and habits in your personal life so that you have the freedom and space to study and to do some of the other things that they're wanting to do. You need to research where in the area are classes, or can you find something free online? So maybe tomorrow's first step is get out of bed on time, take care of yourself, and do some initial research. And that's it. And then as they can accomplish these things, those things can grow and build on themselves until they're graduating from college with high honors and the degree in the field that they want. We've seen it happen. But it starts so much smaller than that. And it's hard sometimes to think, okay, I have this huge dream. Researching how to get into a GED class doesn't seem like a valuable step. Or it seems insignificant in the big scheme of things. I want to jump ahead, and you just can't. And so then I was thinking about this as it relates to health and fitness and getting ourselves under control. We can't go from standard American diet to bodybuilder overnight. We're not built to do that. It doesn't work. And so we have to start so much smaller than that. And so I got thinking about it, and one of the things that we did with these young ladies, especially when it was developing habits, was I would put up a chart on our fridge with their name on the top and usually 21 boxes, which is 3 weeks. And I would say to them, let's say their goal was to get out of bed on time, something very simple. When you get out of bed on time, you get a sticker, and you're responsible to put the sticker up. If you don't get out of bed on time, nothing happens. We don't put an X in it. We don't skip a day. Nothing happens until it happens 21 times, and then there's some sort of reward at the end. And so sometimes it would take them 3 weeks to fill up the chart. They did it every day, no problem. Sometimes it would take them a couple months to start establishing this rhythm and routine, or breaking a habit, or whatever it may be. If it happens, star. If it doesn't happen, leave it alone. So they're not staring at big X's of failure. They're not staring at big empty squares where they didn't do what they were supposed to do. They just see how many days left they have that they still need to accomplish this goal. And I found that it worked really well because you could see progress, but you weren't seeing failure. And for this situation, and for me, that's way more motivating. Anything that we were asking them to do, we tried to keep very small, bite-sized chunks of these big dreams. And one of the things that they talk about at our church a lot, which I love, is to start small, simple, and strategic. And I think that applies to this so well too. When we're starting a new diet, we're starting a new exercise routine, we need to start small. If I sit on the couch most of the time and don't do much, I'm not very active, starting with a 20-minute, a 10-minute walk every day may be my best bet. But if I get up and I say, okay, starting tomorrow, I'm gonna run 2 miles every day, it's not gonna happen. Not only am I not going to do it day one, I'm not gonna do it any day after that. Or if I do it day one, I'm gonna be so sore that I won't be able to move on day 2. That's a possibility as well. But we start small. We start with something that's attainable. We start with something we can do. If my goal is to lift weights, I'm probably not gonna try to use Aaron's workout machine and bench press what he does, because I would probably really hurt myself. I would probably start with much smaller dumbbells and do some curls and some lifts, and I clearly don't lift weights or I would know what I'm talking about. But I'm gonna start with something small that my body can do. We set easy wins, and not easy like there's nothing involved in them, but easy in that it's actually attainable. We start setting up the habits so that we can be successful instead of shooting for the moon and completely missing, right? If we don't feel like we have a shot, we're not gonna stick with it. We also need to be really realistic about what those goals look like. For example, if I eat a standard American diet and I decide I'm gonna go carnivore, some people can go cold turkey from eating absolutely whatever they want to just eating meat. And you know, there might be some of that like keto flu stuff or whatever, but they do fine. Some people, that's not realistic. So maybe the realistic part is cutting back, or as Aaron says, just keep track of your carbs. Keep track of your carb intake so you have an idea of where you're starting from, and then start cutting it down. Maybe that's the most realistic first step. But you're still doing something, right? You're not letting another day go by with nothing being done. So we gotta be honest with ourselves and other people about it. If we try to make up these fantasy worlds where we're just gonna jump into something that is completely unsustainable, it's not gonna last. Creating for ourselves the why and knowing why we're doing these things is also gonna help us stick with it and create small steps today that help with the end goal. So the second part is to be simple. You know, if I'm going to start a workout routine, I probably don't need to start by joining a gym, right? Even if I didn't have dumbbells in my garage, I have milk gallons. I can just lift some milk gallons. Maybe that's what I start with. You know, I don't need to go out and buy a ton of equipment or special cooking tools or whatever it may be. My simple means using the things I have around me. My simple means making better choices with the things in my life that are not going to be drastic changes and drastic measures. Being simple about it gives me the ability to try something without a huge investment, without going to extremes. Because again, that ends up leaving us with guilt or shame if we don't stick to it. If I go join a membership and I spend our family's hard-earned money to go pay for a gym membership and then I never go, I'm going to feel guilt and shame about that. And I already have the things I need at home to lift something that has whatever weight I'm looking to lift. So we don't have to go crazy with it. Be simple about it. Be simple about the things we're doing, right? For us, when I started eating low carb, that meant, okay, so if I'm cooking whatever it is for our family, I'm just not gonna eat the rice. Not I'm gonna create 3 different meals. So one's carnivore, one's keto, and one's whatever the kids are eating. I'm gonna just not eat whatever it is that I can't eat or shouldn't eat. And of course, we've talked about this eventually, that whole dynamic change with what the kids ate too, but we didn't start by saying we're gonna go crazy and create a full menu restaurant. No, we're just gonna leave out the pieces that we have decided we're not gonna eat. And that's how we're gonna start, and it's gonna be simple. The other thing I think is really important is being strategic. Like for Aaron, his goal was to reverse diabetes. So his strategic is going to be a lot of diet, right? And so he went hardcore on doing carnivore and doing it clean and doing it well, because that was what it was going to take to change his diet and his A1C numbers and the lab numbers that the doctors were looking for diabetes. So he could still work out. That working out is good, but strategically, if what he's looking to change is that A1C number, he needs to work on his diet first, right? And so figure out what your end goal is and find something that you can do or tweak or change in your current lifestyle to help meet that end goal, not some end goal that somebody else thinks you should meet, or not some idealistic end goal that maybe one day is a valid dream, but right now is not the pressing need. Right now is not the main thing that we need to look at. The only other thing that I can think of when I'm setting goals is I need to have a plan for outs, right? This is something we tell our kids. If you're in a situation that you don't want to be in, know how to get out of it. And I think that's so important for us too, because even as an adult, I give in to peer pressure. So when I go somewhere and I know that it is unlikely that there's going to be food that I can eat, I'll eat in advance. Or depending on the situation, I'll take something with me. If I know that there's going to be a whole week that I can't get up early for whatever reason and get on the treadmill and get my body moving, maybe I shift around my schedule a little bit so I can do it at night. But I have a plan before I get stuck in this, oh, well, now I've kind of given up on walking or running because it was hard one week and I didn't plan for it. You know, another thing is negative thinking. I find that I get stuck in ruts sometimes of I can't have this or I can't have that. And fortunately, I have people in my life that will either tell me I'm being ridiculous.
Smell it. And it smells like a goat in heat.
Or say, okay, so like, for example, this week I have been on a fried chicken kick. I just want fried chicken. Right? I know it's not great for me. I know that when I go out and buy it at the store, it's gonna come with French fries and whatever else. And I know that I don't really wanna put that in my body, but fried chicken sounds really good. So what do? My husband, because he hears me complain, went out and bought chicken thighs and grilled them up for me. And today I was like, you know what? I'm gonna see if I can bread them in some pork rinds and get that crispiness that I'm looking for. And it was delicious. So I took those negative thoughts and those things that are like, well, you deserve, you can have, you've earned, and said, no. I can make something that will be just as good and fit in those things. But if I'm not careful, I give into those negative thoughts. And before I know it, I am so far off course because I didn't have any sort of plan. I hadn't predetermined or predecided anything. And the same thing with temptations. If I know that having certain foods in my house are going to be too big of a temptation, I just can't have them there. And so sometimes we need to think ahead and say, okay, this is a trigger for me. This is something that always causes me problems. I can't have it here. That's something that your family just says we're not going to have. Or if it does come into your house because it's a treat for somebody else and it's okay for them, you do it in a portion size where there's not going to be any left. Those kinds of things. Plan ahead. So if you are starting a diet, if you are starting a fitness routine, if you are starting anything where you are looking to make these changes in your life and you have this big goal, break it down. What are the big steps? What needs to happen like fairly big to get there? But what needs to happen tomorrow? Figure out what needs to happen tomorrow by making it small, make it simple, make it strategic, and every day those choices are going to get you further to that goal. And if you need to, this is me giving all of the adults out there permission, make yourself a sticker chart. They're fun, right? Put it on your fridge. Watch your progress. Cheer for yourself. Give yourself a reward when you fill it up. But don't spend a ton of time beating yourself up for missed days or mistakes. Make the next right choice. Do the next right thing. And before you know it, you're going to be like Aaron and almost 3 years into the carnivore and like completely changing the way you're thinking about food and life and fitness and all of the things. You know, I've been doing low carb, low sugar for 3 years now, and it has changed how I think about so many things. But if I hadn't started on day one, we never would have gotten here. Day at a time, small, simple, and strategic. I would love to know, what is your big goal and what are you going to do tomorrow? What's your starting point? Thank you guys so much for hanging out with me. I hope that was helpful, and I hope that some of you that are feeling overwhelmed by this idea of starting somewhere, maybe it gave you some ideas on how to get started and how to get started well. I will see you all soon. Bye.